Hello and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness for Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Gotta mute my phone a little bit. It's a little too loud with their banners. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now, Facebook, they want us to get this information out. So don't try to mark me and strike me for getting this information out. Don't please like, subscribe, and share. Get this information out because they are looking for answers. Governor Bill Lee has also offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to the conviction in this case. And you could also go to justicefortracysue.com. Who killed Tracy Sue Walker, missing in Indiana in 1978, found deceased in Elk Valley, Tennessee in 1985. Hello, everyone that's here. We really do appreciate y'all coming in. I'm going to put trigger warning because this would be hard to hear. Please share this. All you people that shares this about missing people get justice on whatever happened to these kids or to other people. Share screen. Okay, so here's the website that it's talking about. This, the students had ended up making it, and I will tell more about that in a little while on what had happened here, okay? So it says, I'm Tracy Sue. Someone knows who killed me. Is it you? If y'all know who killed her, they didn't just take my life, they erased decades of laughter, love, and second chances. But someone out there remembers what they did, and it's time they spoke. My name is Tracy Sue Walker. I was a shy, thoughtful girl who loved cheerleading and doing hair. I dreamed of working in the beauty industry one day. I was just a freshman at Jefferson High in Lafayette, Indiana, when I went missing. In the last week of July 1978, I was abducted from the Tippecanoe Mall, where I was last seen getting into a car with a group of slightly older group of men. They left the state with me traveling south, ending up in Elk Valley, Tennessee, where I was murdered. This photo was taken where they found my remains. Investigators worked hard to find clues that would help determine who dumped me in this remote section of Elk Valley in Campbell County, Tennessee. They didn't just kill me, they stole justice from my family. 40 years later, my loved ones still had no peace. If you know something, anything, it's not too late. Say something for me, for them. Make them say my name. Make them face what they did. 40 years ago, investigators found this necklace, the one I made from buttons with my friends. Do you remember seeing me make it? If you do, say something now. So thanks for reading and caring, but my story isn't finished, not yet. If you know something, anything that can bring the truth to light and help catch my killer, then speak up now. So let's go to this media kit. I want to share with y'all this. Thanks for sharing my story. Here you'll find case information, resources, and other information to spread the word about the effort to generate new leads in this ongoing investigation. So y'all, I advise y'all to go to this website, justicefortracysue.com. Here's campaign images. Someone knows who killed Tracy Sue in the 80s. Is it you? Here are scene images right here. There's the necklace with the buttons. Little remote area. Investigators and forensic anthropologists meeting in the area where Tracy Sue's remains were found on April the 3rd, 1985. Investigators, says the same thing right here. There's another picture of it. Dr. Bill Bass worked to recover the remains of Tracy Sue Walker. Here is denim and a buckle. The small piece of denim cloth with a brass buckle was found at the scene. It may hold a clue to the clothing Tracy was wearing at the time of her death. This necklace made out of buttons was found in the same area as Tracy Sue's remains. Investigators believe she was wearing it at the time she was murdered. So let's now go over here to the TBI. This is August the 30th, 2022. Skeletal remains found more than 3 decades ago identified as missing Indiana girl. In Campbell County, a child whose skeletal remains were found nearly 4 decades ago in Campbell County has been identified, and special agents with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation are asking for the public's help to determine what happened to her. On April the 3rd, 1985, skeletal remains were found in the Big Wheel Gap area of Elk Valley in Campbell County. Forensic anthropologists determined that the skeletal remains were those of a white female, likely between the age of 10 and 15. However, investigators could not determine her identity, and she became affectionately known as Baby Girl. In 2007, a sample of her remains was submitted to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification, the UNTCHI, in hopes of identifying the victim. A DNA profile was developed for the victim and entered into the Combined DNA Index System, the CODIS, as well as the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, in hopes that she will eventually be identified. In 2013, a TBI agent and intelligence analyst revisited the case and began searching for new leads regarding the girl's identity. It would be 9 more years before they received a break in the case. Earlier this year, working with the University of Tennessee Anthropology Department, which this is back in 2022, so earlier in 2022, working with the University of Tennessee Anthropology Department, a sample of the child's remains were sent to Othram, a private laboratory that analyzes human DNA. Their scientists conducted forensic genetic genealogy testing. In June, Othram provided a possible relative connected to the child who is living in Indiana. Using that information, a TBI intelligence analyst located potential family members in the Lafayette, Indiana area. A TBI agent made contact with those individuals and confirmed they had a family member go missing from that area in 1978. With the assistance of the Lafayette, Indiana Police Department, agents were able to obtain familial DNA standards for possible siblings of the girl, which were submitted to the TBI Crime Lab in Nashville for entry into CODIS. Then the UNTCHI possibly identified Baby Girl as Tracy Sue Walker. Date of birth, June the 2nd, 1963. Who went missing from the Lafayette, Indiana area in 1978. Now, TBI special agents hope the public can help provide information that may help determine the circumstances leading to Tracy Sue Walker's death and how she ended up in Campbell County. If you have information about the case and any knowledge about individuals Tracy may have been with before her death, please call 1-800-TBI Found. Fine, here is a picture of her. So let me go to the next thing. It's got more information here. And this is written May the 12th, 2025. This was the Tennessee TBI newsroom. Students and TBI renew push for leads in 40-year-old murder case. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has partnered with sociology students at Elizabethton High School to raise awareness about a cold case out of Campbell County. It's been 40 years since the skeletal remains of a young girl were found at a remote part of the Elk Valley community of Campbell County. At the time, investigators weren't able to determine her identity, and she became affectionately known as Baby Girl. In 2022, through the use of forensic genetic genealogy testing, TBI agents positively identified Baby Girl as Tracy Sue Walker from Lafayette, Indiana. She was reported missing in 1978 at the age of 15. Her parents were no longer living, so her parents never had answers, okay? So agents reached out to her brother to share what they had confirmed. When Brandon called me with that information a couple years ago, it was the happiest day of my life, said Randy Walker. I never did forget about her. It was so hard not knowing. He wasn't happy that she's dead, y'all. He was happy that there's answers, okay? It's a case that sociology students at Elizabethton High School have extensively researched as part of a class project, and one they are determined to help solve. When my classmates and I think about Tracy, we think about how scared she must have been, said Elizabethton High School student Shelby Evans. She was just a girl like me. She had a whole life ahead of her, dreams, hopes, maybe siblings like we have. That was all taken away. She didn't deserve what happened to her. TBI agents investigating the case believe someone in Campbell County holds the key to determining who is responsible for Tracy Sue's death. In an effort to develop new leads, students are working with the TBI to help raise awareness about the case and to ensure everyone in Campbell County and surrounding areas hears Tracy's story. In cold case homicides, we often find that relationships and relationship changes are the key to solving a case, said TBI Special Agent Brandon Elkins. I believe those types of changes may now make it possible for people in this community to speak up and give us the clues we need in Tracy's case. Someone out there is Tracy's hero, and I just hope they have the courage to come forward. In addition to designing yard signs, handing out flyers, and creating postcards to direct mail to residents in Campbell County, students also designed and worked with a business in Elizabethtown to have a car wrapped with Tracy's photo. The idea is to get residents to scan the QR code or visit the website displayed on the vehicle. We hope that by sharing her story now, someone who knows something will come forward, said EHS student Andrew Barnett. There are still people out there, even in Campbell County, who haven't heard her name or what happened. We want to change that. We want her story to be heard everywhere and hopes that someone will come forward with the information the TBI needs to help solve this case. I had talked with a guy in Indiana about an hour ago, and he lives, I think he said about 15 to 30 minutes away from where she went missing at the mall. And he said he never even heard of this girl missing. And that was right in his area, right? Last week, at the request of 8th Judicial District Attorney Jared Eckler, Governor Bill Lee issued a reward of $10,000 for information leading to the apprehension, arrest, and conviction of the person or persons responsible for killing Tracy Sue Walker. Okay, here's what happened. Y'all ready? Investigators know that in the last week of July 1978, Tracy Sue Walker was abducted from the Tippecanoe Mall in Lafayette, Indiana. Her night began in the early evening when she was dropped off with a friend at McDonald's and ended outside J.C. Penney, where she was last seen getting into a car with a group of older men. These men are believed to have been temporarily working in the area. After they abducted Tracy in Indiana, they left the state with her. She later ended up in Elk Valley, Tennessee area where she was murdered. Facts of Tracy's abduction and work by investigators have led agents to believe that this group of men may have been well organized and that Tracy might not have been their only victim. Investigators are hoping anyone who has information or may have encountered this group of men in or in around this time period will come forward. We are determined to bring justice to Tracy Sue's case, said District Attorney General Jared Epler. Through the vital efforts and commitment of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, it is our sincere hope that someone, somewhere, holds a crucial piece of information to bring her killer to justice. To learn more about Tracy Sue Walker's case, visit justicefortracysue.com. Anyone with information or knowledge about individuals Tracy may have been with before death is asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Here is the card. Right here, this card helps raise awareness about Tracy Sue's case in Campbell County. Someone knows who killed Tracy Sue. Is it you? Signs dot the landscape in Campbell County seeking tips in Tracy Sue's case. Know who killed Tracy Sue? 1-800-TBI-FIND. A banner in Campbell County advertises the plea for tips in Tracy Sue's case. So I want to go see. I want to go back over here to where I had an earlier email, and end with that. See if I find it in here again. Sorry. Get it in here because it had a little bit more information, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I had closed it out thinking that that already unspilled on the low. Yeah, here it is right here. So when we go right here, with the TBI's Tennessee high school students for help solve a nearly 50-year-old case. This is a day ago, thanks to the Nashville Tennessean by Keith Sharon. Listen at this, y'all. Hi there. It's good to see you, Cash. Thank you for coming in. So it says the killer carried the body across a creek along the mining road out to the sticks. The killer dumped her in Elk Valley, an unincorporated area about an hour north of Knoxville off Interstate 75. That's over there near the Chattanooga. That's over there near over there. You know what I find interesting about this? Because a lot of them people like Charles Rogers had told us basically was in that area. Okay, that's their through area to go to either to Nashville, to go to North Carolina, to go to Atlanta, all that. So this right there makes perfect sense that it could be them. You know what I'm saying? It possibly could be the same people who Charles Rogers has been warning us about, and it said it could be organized. And we know that the people that Charles Rogers been talking about, it's been organized. So if I was them, I would look up the people who Charles Rogers has been calling out. I would look them up, number one, first and foremost. It was the last week of July in 1978 when she was abducted, but she wasn't discovered until 1985. Only about 30 bones were left of her, y'all. Only about 30 bones. If you weren't from there, you wouldn't know how to find the spot where she was found, said Alex Campbell, a high school teacher for 2.5 hours away. He and his students are now involved in the search for the person who put her there. Local law enforcement at the time called the baby girl Jane Doe. She wasn't a baby, however. She was a 15-year-old high school freshman, just like some of the kids at Elizabethton High School, where Campbell has become known as a sociology teacher whose classes solve murder cases. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, stymied in their baby girl investigation for 40 years, have turned to Campbell's class for help. Campbell's students have a growing crime solving reputation after a podcast called Murder 101 and a new movie being developed by Spider Man trilogy director John Watts. How about that, y'all? Wow. This had to be have focused on their cold case efforts. In the last few years, Campbell's students have helped solve the redhead murders case of missing girls that began in the 70s and helped identify the killer, a man named Jerry Johns, whom they labeled the Bible Belt Strangler. Even though she was redhead, they don't think it's affiliated with the same guy, okay? In 2017, Campbell had noticed his sociology students becoming uninterested in the waning months of the school year. So he asked them if they wanted to do some detective work. At Campbell's urging, the students began looking at unsolved redhead murders case in which about a dozen girls across several states were missing. Campbell's class not only linked many of the victims, they produced a profile of who might be the killer. They settled on truck driver Jerry Johns, who had died in prison. The bodies were usually discarded by the sides of interstate highways. John's DNA was eventually linked to a victim who had survived his attack. He would not have got caught had that person not survived, okay? During one of their non-serial killer semesters, the Elizabethton High School students took on the case of Suzanne Johnson, who was serving 25 years to life for child murder. A babysitter in 1997, Johnson said she was watching a baby who died when the high chair fell over. Johnson said it was an accident. Police investigators said it was a case of shaken baby syndrome. The students found that the science behind shaken baby syndrome hasn't always been consistent and has led to convictions being overturned. The students worked with the California Innocence Project and submitted their findings to both then Governor Jerry Brown and current Governor Gavin Newsom. One of the missing girls the class looked at in the redhead murders case was a baby girl, Jane Doe, found in Elk Valley in 1985. In 2022, the TBI positively identified the baby girl remains as those of Tracy Sue Walker of Lafayette, Indiana. Since she wasn't discarded off an interstate, Campbell believes she doesn't fit with the redhead murders, even though she had red hair. She probably wasn't part of a serial killing, Campbell said. This was not the work of a truck driver from somewhere along the highway. How did she end up in Elk Valley? Campbell's class worked with the TBI to build a website called justicefortracysue.com. There's also a tip line, 1-800-TBI-FIND. So you can also go to justicefortracysue.com. I think there's a couple of videos there as well. And the students wrote her story from a first person point of view as if she were asking to help find her killer 47 years after she disappeared. So the students made flyers, hired planes to fly banners, launched a direct mail campaign, and even tricked out a car with Walker's picture and a QR code that focused their efforts on Campbell County, where Elk Valley is located, and the bones were discovered in 1985. We hope that by sharing her story now, someone who knows something will come forward, said EHS student Andrew Barnett. Well, with it being found that these were, she left with the grown men in a car, and I don't know how many grown men that was spotted in the car with her when she left J.C. Penney Mall. It makes you wonder how many, right? So definitely was not a truck driver if they left in a car. And I wonder if they even knew what kind of car she was in. If they happen to say it was a station wagon, guess who loves station wagons? John Ramsey. Okay. All right. We want to change that. We want her story to be heard everywhere in hopes that someone will come forward with the information the TBI needs to help solve this case. The theory is that someone in Campbell County saw something or knows something about the 78 murder. And also, I want y'all to think about in Knoxville, Tennessee, at the time, Judge Mike McLaughlin lived in Knoxville at the time, okay? And he's affiliated with John Ramsey, and he is judge over there that actually, who Charles has stated had tried to kill him because he knew too much information on his murders, okay? Of him murdering girls and boys. Theory is that someone in Campbell County saw something or knows something about the 78 murder. In cold case homicides, we often find that relationships and relationship changes are the key to solving a case, said TBI Special Agent Brandon Elkins in a news release. I believe those types of changes may now make it possible for people in this community to speak up and give us the clues we need in Tracy's case. Someone out there is Tracy's hero, and I just hope they have the courage to come forward. Which I know there's going to be some people going and making suggestions on her, but every little thing needs to be looked up. The TBI, which has always worked separately from Campbell's class, has now fully joined forces, apparently inspired by the media attention the class can generate. And I'm sure that Charles will go there later at this site and probably put in his 2 cents worth in this because I spoke to him on the phone. I said, man, this has got findings similar to some of the stories that you said. It fits right in. It's kind of creepy. The TBI saw, and he agreed with me. The TBI saw they, the students, were doing quality work, Campbell said. It's the most attention the case has ever gotten. If the killer is still alive, they can be held accountable. Sorry, my publisher just keeps sending me text messages, but I'm doing this live, so I can't answer. Uh-oh. I didn't ask for that. Sorry. I'm trying to get it down here. Walker's disappearance didn't receive much attention in 78. She was last seen at the Tippecanoe Mall in Lafayette, Indiana. She had been dropped off with a friend at McDonald's, and she was later seen outside of JCPenney. Well, what happened to her friend? Did her friend work at McDonald's, and then she ended up going to the mall alone? What happened to the friend that was with her? I'm wondering little bitty questions like that as well. She was last seen getting into a car. The car was filled with a group of older men. See it? Do y'all see that? It says filled. The car was filled with a group of older men who are believed to have temporarily working to, wow, in the area and have left the state with Walker, TBI said. She later ended up in Elk Valley where she was murdered. The TBI said a group of men may have been well organized and Walker might not have been their only victim. See, and the organized crime that goes along with Charles Rogers has said as well. Walker's parents are both dead. Her brother Randy was contacted by the TBI when Walker's remains were identified. When Brandy called me with that information a couple of years ago, it was the happiest day of my life, said Randy Walker in the news release. I never did forget about her. It was so hard. Can you please quit that? Really? Seriously? It was so hard not knowing. This article originally appeared on Nashville, Tennessee, the Tennessean. TBI asked Tennessee high school students for help solving a nearly 50-year-old cold case. Y'all know, please be hypervigilant and please share this story. They deserve answers. It's so good to see you, Cash. Thank you, everybody that's here. Please say prayers. Who killed Tracy Sue Walker? Missing from Indiana in 1978. Found deceased in Elk Valley, Tennessee, 1985. Like we said, she was carried across the creek into a wooded area. This got the margins of some of the things where Charles had described of some of the people back in his stories as well. Thank you so much, and I hope that this leads to arrest, and hope that some of these perps will get caught because they deserve to be gone. They deserve to go to jail for the heinous actions that they do towards the children. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Cass, as well. God bless each and every one of y'all. Have a great weekend.